recording. Do, 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 do. This one is about a book, a special book, not the Bible. Can't say what I wanna say, cause Sharon did a boujin ding, and we're gonna stop it there. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you.
That's me stopping talking before I get myself into trouble.
Yes, because you would have done.
Yeah, definitely. So, hello everyone. Welcome to part 5 of the Tinpot series within the Here to Tinpot 2 podcast. Why do you look at me like that when I talk? You look at me as if you're going to say this wrong.
No.
All right. You look like...
That's just my look.
You look like... You look startled. Is that what you're going for?
Startled.
Is that what we're going for? Like that time when you did your makeup and I said someone to punch you in the face.
Ladies, I'm sure I'm not the only one here who is not good at contouring.
Good at what?
Contouring. So I tried doing it. Right. What you're meant to do is put a darker shadow underneath your cheekbone, okay,
Yeah.
which is meant to give you, the shape there. Yeah. I obviously didn't do a very good job because I saw Mark in the office and he said to me, "You got a bruise on your face."
Well, I was concerned because I sort of like walked over to her and I went, I don't know if I should ask. He's not like my dad. I don't know what I can and can't say these days. I just went, "Are you all right? Why?
Someone punched you in the face.
Have you hit your face on something?" And then I remember you going, "Oh no, that's just my contour." And I went, "Oh God, great." That's like someone's. I don't know. That's like that is almost as close as saying, "When are you due?" And I'm going, "I'm not pregnant."
Yeah, it's just a bit bloating.
Yeah, so I just went.
Oh, yeah, that's what I did.
But in my normal style though, I'll bring it up all the time.
Well, I posted something on Instagram. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, and you look like you look like a cherub.
Yeah, and I looked back and there was like a blob of blusher in the wrong place.
You know, I don't want to be that guy, but you why do you laugh when I start saying I don't want to be that guy?
Because the way you're looking at my face, like, Sharon, you're not doing a good job there. Let me do it.
No, I don't know how to put makeup on.
Well, neither do I.
Well, clearly.
Oh, thanks.
What I was going to say is there are copious amounts of TikToks and Instagram videos that I'm sure people make careers out of going. I mean, who's that lady we both follow on Instagram? She's a mum, Manchester.
Oh, yeah.
Tired and Tested?
Something like that. She's brilliant.
Yeah, but she's always doing like makeup tutorials and doing I want to say blusher and eyeliner.
I gave it a go. I didn't hit the mark that time, or perhaps every day, but I give it a go.
No. Well,
it's quite complex.
I'm sure the Kardashians can rest easy knowing that your makeup empire will not be coming from anytime soon.
No, they'll be all right.
There's probably a lesson of how not to do it in there somewhere. Anyway, moving on from Sharon's makeup. Please add in the comments if you'd like to know more about Sharon's daily routine. What products you might use in her hair, how you brush it, things like that. I can't go any further than that because, again, I'm going to get myself in trouble.
You'll get a kick in a minute.
The viewers can't, or the listeners can't see that. She's nipping me under the desk going, get on with it. Just get on with it. We're supposed to be doing about this bloody CX buggy, and I don't know why I've gone like this and I'm talking like this. I can't get out of it, Sharon. Help me out. Right, okay. So this is part 5, and as it has always been, listeners and viewers, for the previous 4, that we're now going to read a direct quotation from the book that is called Your CX'y, and We Know It. I forgot to plug it in the last one, so I got told off for that. Available on Amazon. Was #1 bestseller at the time, but we could always sell more because, Daddy likes those royalties. I don't like referring to myself as that. I've just realised that. This is going to be a fun episode. I'm all giggly and wiggly. Oh, hang on. I think I've got one for this. Got a soundboard. Oh, this could be dangerous.
We're doing a lucky dip with the soundboard.
I might have to quickly turn it down, but you're making me all giggly, so... Oh, no, wrong one. But you're making me all poopy.
Listeners, you know full well what it is that Mark would have been doing to then get away with trying to say that.
Well, right, I'm going to give them a little bit of insight here on comfortability with someone. Now, you should never... For what? Oh.
Pop
off in front of a lady. But it just happens. I mean, I'm sure I read somewhere that we have had this debate numerous times in the office. I'm sure we've had this debate that you ladies and boys, they trump at least 13 or 30 times, I can't remember which one it was, a day. So you've already done it today. I've definitely done it today. But when it happens, and let's say you have to let one go, and you try to sneak it, but eventually it just goes. And then when that happens, and if Sharon notices, that's my line I say to her, going, "But you making me all poopy, and you make me feel safe." You're making me feel safe, which is making me all poopy. John was here now.
I'm sure the other ladies in the office would agree with me. No, is the answer to that.
I'm sorry
You're
for
not allowed.
having. I think we live in a society now where we can all be equal, Sharon.
Yes, but we don't want to hear the boffs.
Well,
Smell the boffs.
I'm sorry, but it's got to come out from somewhere.
Bathrooms, that's what they're for.
What? So you want me to get up and walk across the office to go into the bathroom and trump?
Absolutely.
What is this, 1910?
Doesn't matter when it was. Don't do it.
We need boffin sheds. Why do you think this is so soundproof? I mean, God forbid, do ever light a match in here?
Please don't, not while I'm in here.
More poopy, poopy, poopy. Right, anyway, should we get on with this? We've been on for 6 minutes now and you haven't even read anything.
I know.
It's going right, so Sharon is going to read a chapter. I'm looking forward to this one because I have got lots to say about this one. And then we'll chat about it as normal. A little bit of a different setup because you're not going to have an MKLism or key takeaway on this one, are you? It's a list.
It is, yeah. So this one's called Be an Intentional Leader. And I remember when we were putting together the list of chapters, I just felt that this is the book, your CX'y, and we know it, is a leadership and a CX in tech book. So this is a real leadership kind of chapter. So it starts with everybody loves a list. Here is a list, our top 10. Here are a few thoughts from us which have helped us on our leadership journey. So, number 1, listen more than you speak as a leader. Get your team used to speaking first. This way they aren't sitting back waiting for you to make the first point. You get to hear everyone else's point of view and can wrap it up all nicely together if you choose to at the end. Number 2, whenever we're saying yes to one thing, we are effectively saying no to something else. Do not make me giggle. Choose your yeses wisely and be intentional about your choices. Number 3. Oh, there's swear words in this one.
Oh, go on then. Let's see if you actually do it.
Sometimes you have to be the bigger person and walk away. Other times you have to be the bigger bitch. Oh, naughty. Apologies.
Drop the bit. You could have said bish.
Bish. Apologies, listeners.
You sound like have you watched Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Scary Terry. Bitch.
I'm very sorry, listeners.
What do you mean, listeners? You're the one that said it.
No, I'm apologising for myself.
To the mic, please, love you.
To the mic. Other times you have to be the bigger bish to remind them who you are dealing with. Only you will know which card to play. So which, walk away or give it to them. And you won't always get it right. Number 4, rest. Rest is needed, but we all know how hard it is in a business to get the volume of rest that you need. Don't forget the old saying of change is as good as a rest. Change pace, location or topic, and you may be able to reinvigorate yourself without taking your foot off the pedal.
What number was that? Number 4?
4.
But the rest, we'll come back to that one. I've got some points on that.
Yeah. So that one's not a self-care, take everything. That's a
change
pace.
I've got an interesting TikTok that I want to play.
Okay.
Which will be, I think we'll discuss that one in some detail.
All right. Number 5, one of my favourites. So resilience is a constant and very worthwhile effort. This is a key leadership strength. If you don't have a resilience plan, get one. Use it. Add to it. Focus on building your resilience. We talk about that all the time, especially in MKLCX. Number 6, another one of my favourites. Go big or go home. This is certainly something we do in MKL, isn't it? Embrace the all-in mentality. Otherwise, WTAF.
What's that stand for?
What the actual
What, so someone's trumped?
What the actual is the point.
I thought you were going to say it then. Oh. What? Yeah, back out with that one back.
Right. And then number 7, invest in CX and EX. We know we don't need to elaborate here. This whole book is about this. If you're struggling,
Employee experience is EX.
she is.
For those that don't know.
If you're struggling with getting sponsorship, work out that return on investment. Deliver awesome CX by stealth if you have to, whilst everyone else catches up on the importance of it. But do it. Get your CX and EX done. Team leadership. Surround yourself with people far brighter than yourself. And mentors too. These are essential. Pay me later for this tidbit. I just did a really weird, uncomfortable wink at the camera then. Apologies.
Did you? I didn't see that. Oh.
It was awkward. I'm sorry.
Viewers. Okay, that's...
I'm sorry about that. Number 9.
Go, continue.
Give a voice to everyone in the organisation so they can share opinions, whatever level they are. Number 10. Delegate effectively and allow ownership. 100+ employee syndrome. Oh, this one's an interesting one to talk about.
Just bring your mic over a little bit, Sharon, just because our listeners need to have the full experience of those delicate Cockney towns.
100+ employee syndrome. Not knowing everyone who works for you. This can be uncomfortable when you reach this stage.
Yeah,
so make sure you have a good team below you who will carry your leadership and culture to the level below.
I remember speaking to someone not too long ago who they didn't, they're old school. So I mean, the person I spoke to, he's gone over 60. He was a chap that we were speaking about this morning. But there's a couple of 100 people working for his business now. And I remember I was at a Christmas do. They do sort of like a Christmas do every year, and you can bring your partners to it and things like that. And I remember someone coming up and talking to him, and I knew him quite well, and he turned around and said to me, I ain't got a clue who that was. But they worked in his company that he started, and I thought that
Interesting dynamic.
Well, I know everybody here because we you know, there's I think there's like 12 or 15 of us, but I can imagine that's quite a weird experience when you go, that person's working in my company that I met, and I couldn't tell you who that person was.
Yeah, we talk a lot about how our culture is something really important and valuable, don't we? And how if it's not, if you do get to that stage where you've got 100 people and then you don't know who's who, that's why it's so important to make sure that those directly beneath you are hired exactly right for culture fit, so that they can then transfer that down. So you don't end up with a person walking in who's got nothing, like no fit at all.
We recently hired someone, an engineer for the business, and I remember the words that he said to me when we'd gone through that. So I'm just taking that off your knee there, Sharon, because you can hear it over the mic.
Sorry.
His words to me was, I've never been through a process like this before. And my instant response to him was, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? You tell me what you think of that. And he said, well, it's a good thing. And I went, why is it a good thing? He said, well, it's just been so relaxed. It's been so casual. I said, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why that is. You know, there is method in the madness because, as we all know, if you go for a normal job interview, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get a very structured, rigid interview process. And in some ways, you need that. But we get around that, and I'll explain how we get around that in various different ways. One, you need it to you making sure that you're giving everybody a fair crack in the whip because you don't want to leave yourself open to a tribunal, which people can do. But also you need to make sure that there is some rigor and process behind it so that if you're hiring an engineer, they can actually do the things that they want to do. So this is where we do a lot of background checks on the individual. We check qualifications on. Once they've passed what we call the hygiene factor, then it's a cultural fit process. And I remember having this conversation with a chap and saying to him, well, if I was to sit in front of you and I was to say, you know, tell me a time when you had a difficulty in your life and how you overcame that. Or if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Or what colour would you be? And all that stuff. You're going to give me an answer that I want to hear, but I'm going to get interview Sharon, not Sharon as I'm getting now.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm relaxed with you and we're having a conversation around, and when I say with boundaries, it means like not when you're in, you can say what you want. I'm on about with boundaries, and boundaries are in the scope of the role that they're going to be doing. But in those boundaries, you can have a normal human being conversation. You just watch their walls fall down. and then you get to see the real person.
And that's important to us because one of our values as a company, it's all about authenticity, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because you've got. How many times have we? Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail a bit later around being authentic, because I've got a lot of, I want to say, chips on my shoulder. I'll probably say that, and I say no. It's probably more of a Mount Everest on my shoulder with that one. I've got some demons that I need to put to rest with that one around being authentic. But I just wanted to come back to, I think it was point 4 in the list, and I cannot remember what the other one was. I think it was about a resilience plan. I don't know what number that was. That was ever 6 or 7. But I just wanted to play this clip from Jordan Peterson. We're going to test technology out now. So what I've done, listeners and viewers, if you can see it, is I've got my phone connected up to the Rode soundboard at the moment. I can Bluetooth my phone to it, and then I can play various clips on TikTok or whatever it might be. So what we should hopefully hearing in a second is Jordan Peterson. I'll cut it off after, because Jordan's not the only one that's speaking, but I just wanted to play his point in relation to what you said around point 4, and I think it was point 6, and then let's discuss it. So let's get this to work.
One of the things I tell young men, well, and young women as well, but the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no. Wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
So I'll just stop that there.
He goes on slightly further, doesn't he, where he talks about the gardener.
Yeah, but that's that's not in that clip. But that's where I think Joe Rogan talks about that. About it's better to be a warrior in a garden and not have a water fight than be a gardener in a warrior position and have a water fight. So that for me is at that point around resilience or being careful and being what was 4? Go to 4.
Or 4 is actually about rest, but that
yes,
one there...
yeah. That's my point around rest. Yeah, so and this comes to that self-care conversation again for me. Is I have to be careful how I phrase this. I have got a challenge with self-care, if I'm being really honest, and this isn't to say I've got a challenge with everybody else about it. I'm on about with me. I'm speaking now for me, not anybody else. If anybody's just going to try to come at me for it, this is not my view of anybody else. This is the view on myself. So I don't like to do too much self-care because I'm in the camp of a Jordan, a David Goggins, a Joe Rogan type individual, that you do have to be they call it a monster, but you have to be an animal, and you have to be able to channel that energy and drive and passion in a way, as he says in there, to control it so people can understand it. But when it comes to so much, you can't have one or the other. How can you be a monster but then go, I want my bubble bath?
It's about discipline, isn't it?
Yeah.
And using your drive, and it's really easy to get into that thing of, oh, I'll treat myself today. I'll have another pizza. I know I had one last night. I'll do it again tonight. Oh, actually, I'm going to completely binge watch Netflix because I want to treat myself. But then you do that every evening that week. And that's when it becomes a problem, when it becomes over excessive. And instead of it being a treat and something you do to kind of refresh yourself and then get back in the game, you're doing it because you're just doing it because you're like, it's me. I'm going to look after myself.
I'm going to look
do
after
it for
myself.
the wrong reasons.
I'm not going to go for that run.
Yeah.
You listen to David Goggins or read his book, and this isn't a Dave Goggins podcast, so we're not going to go down that route again, but he talks about sitting there and staring at his shoes for 20 minutes.
Making himself do
before he actually does it. Now, he could easily do that self-care and say, I'm going to go have a bubble bath.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, his is to an extreme, isn't it? Because he was, like, spending every single day working out, like, the entire way through his day. And then he did that every single day just so he could lose all that weight. So how easy would it be to go, do you know what? I ache from top to bottom. I'm going to take this evening off and not do it, but he didn't.
No,
and
exactly.
he didn't let himself get into that routine of, just for tonight.
And we have to be careful. We do have to be careful as leaders that you are not expecting everybody. I remember I read a really interesting comment from Gary Vee. And he said, if you're a business owner or a leader, a senior leader, you should not expect your employees to do what you do.
No.
You shouldn't. And if you are expecting them to do as you do, then ultimately you're going to just be constantly pissed off. Because in the nicest sense of the word, then you're in that position and they're not. And it's not because they're not capable of doing your position. It's because they might not want to be in that position. They might want to look after their family. They might want to not work away. And that's all absolutely fine. But as a leader, if you want to be that monster, and to his point around controlling it, that to me means that you shouldn't be a tyrant. So there's a fine line between being a strong, intentional leader and being a tyrant.
Well, yeah, you role model compared to telling you will do this.
Yeah.
And it's your personal drive, isn't it, that makes you be that strong person who continues with your drive and delivers every day. But if you're also saying, right, I do this, so you should do this, and as you say, getting annoyed when someone else doesn't have that same drive as you do. Because with that drive, what we're talking about there is going over and above. It's pushing yourself forwards. It's going for those big, hairy, audacious goals every day, and not kind of just sitting back and going, "Oh, it'll happen when it'll happen."
Yeah, or allowing someone else to do something for you, and then you getting annoyed because it hasn't happened. Now, there is the art of effective delegation, and all that piece comes into it. But that, to your point around that 100 employee syndrome, you have to be able to have a strong team underneath you to be able to ensure that as your business gets bigger, or as your team gets bigger, or your projects get bigger, or whatever that might be, you don't have to be constantly going up and down the hierarchical elevator, so to speak. Not that you should not talk to the people. I don't like using the bottom of the pile, but talking to the people who are junior and only engaging with the senior individuals. That's not what I'm saying. Is that you need a strong team to be able to do that. And coming back to that interview conversation that we just had then, I remember. Have you ever been in an interview situation where they say there's no hierarchy here? Yeah. It's a flat structure.
And you know full well there is.
Well, we know there is.
Yeah.
I mean, read Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Laws. His first bloody law is about being a lobster and what happens to lobsters and the hierarchical structure. There is a hierarchy everywhere. But more importantly, there should be a hierarchy. And we're going to get into I'm leading you down a path here. Not to trick you, but I'm just leading you down a path because I want to have this conversation because we've had this before off camera. But there should be a hierarchy, and you agree with that, am I right?
Agree.
Yeah, there should be a hierarchy, and you might be watching this going, well, why should there be a hierarchy? And the reason why there should be a hierarchy, and bear with me on this one, the reason why there should be a hierarchy is because you want the best and the brightest at the top solving the problems of the organisation and what that be. Now, notice I said the best and the brightest. I didn't say anything about it being a man or a woman or a specific ethnicity, none of that. It should be the best and the brightest based on competency. And this is where you start to get around the debate, a leader, of there should be equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. So everybody should that basically means everybody should get a fair crack of the whip. But because I'm a man or you're a woman, you might be better than me, but because I'm a guy, I'm going to get the role. That's what I mean about equality of opportunity rather than equality of outcome. Now, of course, there should be a hierarchy. And if you're ever in an interview situation or you're a leader, please don't say there isn't a hierarchy here or it's a flat structure, because it is just, I'm going to say it's bullshit. There is a hierarchy structure. There just is. It's just the way it is, and and there should be. Now, where people sit in that hierarchy, that is up for debate. And this is where you get the sending the elevator back down conversation that we've had around this. So do you want to give your views or what your thoughts are around, because Well, no, I'm not going to do that because that's a little bit unfair. My view in terms of sending the elevator back down is that not everybody should step on the elevator. And this comes back to, again, my point around equality of opportunity rather than equality of outcome. Because let's say, Sharon, you're CEO of X company, and you're looking for a successor. But you don't want to take someone who's necessarily from the road down from you. So let's say it's the board or the management board. You want to do something a bit extreme here. You're going to send the lift all the way down, and you're going to find someone to get on that lift. Now, you could argue that everybody should be able to get an opportunity to get on that lift, but should they?
Well, I know what your views on it, and I do agree to some extent on this. Yeah, because when we've got to chat. If you haven't had a chance to get the book, have a look at the book, because quite often when we're talking about the chapters, we end up referencing the other chapters, don't we? And there's a full chapter about this, because I said as a leader and a role model, you should be able to send the lift back down, which means that when you reach the top, it's hard to get to the top. When you get to the top, you look below and you look at those people who are promising people,
agreed,
and you give them a hand up.
Of course.
And I found
because they're competent to be able to do it.
That's a key bit of this conversation, competency, not just because they're there.
Yes, or because they're ticking a quota.
So important. Yeah. And the reason I was saying this is because when I was kind of at the bottom, if we want to put it that way, looking upwards, there were very few role models. And when I was actively seeking and putting my hand up to say, I really want to progress, I really want to give my all to this company, I'm really loyal, what do I need to do, how do I grow, is there anyone who can help me, and found nothing, and there was nobody really who wanted to help me, and that was fine for me because I managed to find people outside of the organisation. But I found that a couple of times until I got to a really good place where there were people who really did want to help, and that made such a difference to my career. And that's why I say, when you reach the top, send the elevator back down. Do help those below you who are promising and have the potential and the capability.
That's the key thing for me, because it's. I'm not going to try to contradict myself too much, but that in terms of equality of opportunity, everybody should get a fair crack of the whip. I think yes, there is, but there are different stages of that whip.
Yeah, when you have an easy ride, that's not right.
No, and you see it all the time. How many people, and there'll be people watching this who are working in organisations where there are extremely senior people in very senior roles, rightly or wrongly, they may be incompetent to be able to do that role, and there might be other factors at play that have put them in that position. Now, that's not to say the hierarchy structure is broken, because there is a hierarchy. It's how that hierarchy structure is then filled in, which is broken.
Yeah, how's that person reached? How's that been established? Because if it's just that they've got that leadership position because they are married to the other person, or it's the son of and they haven't gone through the process of working themselves up or learning the lessons the hard way. They've come straight out of uni or whatever and landed this strategic position and actually making the wrong decisions. Or
I could get your views on, let's take that in a different way and say, they've got there not because you're fresh out of uni. Let's say there's a quota to fill on a board.
Yeah.
How?
If it's let's put myself in my shoes then. I can only speak for myself, but if obviously I am on a board here, and I have been in previous positions for the charity. If I felt that I was only in that role because I was filling a female on a board quota.
You're there because you are a woman.
Yeah. And other people felt that too, that would destroy my credibility. And I'd feel I had to fight even more to get there. And that, when that comes into play, that messes with your mind, and it
comes back to your point around being authentic.
It does, yeah. It's got to be right. You've got to earn your place.
But there is a glass ceiling. There is. There is 100% a glass ceiling, and I don't know. Well, we'll never get to the answers of how you then break through that glass ceiling. But I just don't think that a quota and putting people on a board because of a box to tick is the right way to do it. Because when I look at women such as yourself, strong leaders, I know that would kill you if, yes, you'd be able to say, I'm on a board, I'm paid X, but on your own on a night when you're thinking about it and you're going, I'm only there because I'm a woman and I was the right place at the right time to be able to get that position. Some people could look at that and go, hey, you've made the best of a bad situation, fair play to you. Why not? I don't know, but for me, it eat me a little bit, that.
And you can either, we're really good at in MKO as using things like that as fuel, make you
Hate fire.
yeah, and push forward and go, right, well, I might have started out as a quota tick box, but I'm going to, really push forward and prove my worth so much so that I take over everyone else. Not take over in a bad way, but kind of, really grow.
Surpass them.
Yes, that's the word, surpass. Or you kind of let it eat away at you, and that then creates imposter syndrome and stuff like that.
Well, we've had these debates, haven't we, about hate fire. I remember when we first started doing this and you didn't necessarily, I wouldn't say understood hate fire, but I don't know if you agreed with it.
I think once I reframed it as use it as fuel, I got it.
Look at Dave Goggins.
Yeah.
How many times has he, there's that story anyway, he's doing an ultra. And he's racing some guy, and this guy's telling the story. I don't know what. I think it was a 100-miler, and the guy's beating David Goggins, and he has a problem with his shoe, and he stops. And David Goggins is 2 hours behind him, so he fixes his shoe, and he gets up, and then Dave Goggins is sort of caught up to him, and then overtook him. Off down the road he goes. The guy's running even more, and this is in the middle of the night, and there's no one around for miles. These ultras, you might not see anyone for hours and hours and hours. He gets to the top, and there's a cameraman up there, up to the top of this hill, and he goes, Did Goggins come through here? And he went, oh, yeah, he came through about an hour and a half ago. And he went, did he have anything to say? And he went, yeah, he was just going to the camera. They don't know me. They don't know me. They don't know who I am. And the cameraman's going, mate, there's no one here. But what he's doing there is he's using the fuel of all the bullshit he's gone through. I mean, to the extreme, because he's actually saying it out loud. I mean, I don't go that far, because I think my wife would think I was nuts if she came upstairs and he had me on suite. They don't know. And be like, what's he doing up there? My watch keeps on going off his head. They'd be going, what's he doing? But he's using that as fuel. I mean, he's doing the cookie jar approach. He's using that as fuel to push him on. And when you, as a leader, or when you're trying to be a leader, there's a couple of boxes for me you have to tick for you to be authentic. And I had those boxes challenged in a different life.
Yeah, share a bit around that.
Well, it sat with me for, I think it's still, to be honest, I think it still sits with me today, but I use it as hate fire, as fuel, whereas before I didn't understand that terminology. I didn't do any reading around it. I didn't allow myself to be vulnerable in my thinking to go and explore the process of why. I mean, so take imposter syndrome and all that lot out of it. That wasn't necessarily the problem.
No.
The problem was, and we'll leave the organisation out that it was at the time, but we'll protect the innocent, and we won't say the names of the people involved either. But I was in a position within an organisation.
A large UK organisation?
Yes, a large UK organisation. I was in a head of position. And within this organisation, every month they'd have a session where the board would get together. So you'd have the main board, and then you have the management board. And the main board was, the CFO, the CEO, and the non-exec directors from different organizations. The management board was the management board, so the COO, the MD, the various factions around that department. The chief marketing officer was on there. The HRD was there. So that was where most of the decisions were made, because most of the decisions were made at management board level and then pushed up to the main board, where they sort of wave it through, tap everybody on the back, and then go and drink champagne or whatever they do on a main board. But it was a big deal to get to go and speak at the management board. It's right in the lion's den there. And every so often, you would be asked as a junior manager to go and present at that management board your paper or your strategy or something that your senior boss at the time, which was the chief operation officer for me, would be happy to sponsor. So he or she would be there as a chief operations officer and say, right, Mark's going to come and talk about X. I've sort of like give this the nod, but it's obviously a development opportunity for Mark. You know, he's going to come and talk to, you know, you guys, and I'd really like you to, you know, challenge his thinking. You know, it's great, you know, and they all like to feel good about themselves. You know, yeah, you know, all that sort of stuff. You know, great, yeah, well done. However, now I got told I was going, and you usually get told probably about 2 months in advance. So they're monthly. So I can't remember what date. Let's say mine was October. So I got told at the beginning of August. You're not going to go at the end of August. You're not going to go at the end of September. October, you're going on. Great. And I won't mention the paper, what it was about, because again, it'll give it away. But I was there to talk about a specific initiative that my team and I was heading up and delivering across the business. Okay, great. All team get excited. Okay, right, we're gonna do this, right? What should we do? So obviously they knew that I was the one presenting, but the team was rallying around, going, right, what about if we talk about this? Because you get everybody together and you go, you know, right, this is a great opportunity for our team. You know, this isn't a me situation, but as the figurehead, you the one that has got to be. That's why you are in that position.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in the team would say, I don't want to do that. Oh God, no, I can't think of anything worse.
Well, it is straight in the lion's den, isn't it? As you say.
Well, massively so. So you all get together and you build your pack. And the pack will probably get to 80% ready. And then it will go to the senior leader who gives it the little zhuzh. So making sure that the terminology is quite right, making sure that if so-and-so on that management board has got an initiative that might clash with it, that's sort of like dialed down, you know, so you're not going into an instant blocker. You just, and that's the right way to do it, by the way. So if you are a leader, you need to build your packs to around 80, 90%, and then you put that zhuzh in it. That's important. But I remember before, it come to a couple of days before, and before we went in, my boss came to me and said, look, I've let the person know, and this is the MD. I've let the person know where you're from. And I went, what? What do you mean where I'm from? I don't understand that. What do you mean where I'm from? No, I've just warned him that you're from the north. And I went, this company is down south. And I went, okay, I don't really understand that. What do you mean you've warned him I'm from the north? And he went, well, I'm just being honest with you. This individual will find it quite peculiar when you open your mouth because you're from the north, which completely threw me out. And I remember going to present, and all I could think of was, as soon as you open your mouth, you're going to sound northern. As soon as you open your mouth, you are going to sound northern. And I couldn't think straight. I couldn't think of the paper. I was waiting for, and I knew the agenda, and it was getting closer and closer to my time to speak. And I was just thinking, I want my mouth to do a matrix and just completely seal. I don't want to talk. And as I started to talk, I remember in my peripheral vision to the right was the managing director. And as soon as I opened my mouth, he lifted his head up like a meerkat and sort of looked around the room as if to go, has the cleaner come in and picked up the microphone here and started talking? What's going on here? Went through the paper and got through it. So I was talking for about 45 minutes. And then at the end of it, I had the feedback from my boss at the time saying the managing director couldn't really understand a word you were saying. He didn't get what you were saying. And I was talking probably more northern than I am now. But after that, I was then sent on to a presentation course.
Elocution.
Yeah, I'm doing that with inverted commas for listeners, which was to basically soften my accent.
And anyone who's watching this can see my face, because when Mark first told me that, and I'm sort of clenching my knees and like clench, because when Mark first told me about this, it shocked me to the core. I suppose because I mean, I've got a fairly strong accent compared to some people. Others, I've got no accent. But I'm right from down south, very local to where that happened to be. And it had never once occurred to me that someone would go through that. I suppose that's EX. That's, that employee experience part for me. It's obviously quite strong. And I was just shocked that would have any play at all on you going and sharing something that's really important. Obviously it's important, otherwise it wouldn't have made it to the board meeting.
Oh yeah.
And that it had that kind of effect on you, and all these years later it's still
it to the point I'm not bothered about opening my mouth now.
No.
because I run my own business, and you soon find that when you run your own business you just don't care. So you have to say what you want to say, and if people don't like it, then who cares? But if I wouldn't have been fortunate to be able to do this, I genuinely think that would have held me back in my career, because I'd have been just, and funnily enough, I was listening to LBC a couple of weeks ago. James O'Brien was on there, and we were having this he was having this conversation around how British love a toff. We just do. We love the Queen's English. It doesn't matter how intelligent or unintelligent you are. If you speak the Queen's, it's almost instant respect. If listeners and viewers, Harry Enfield and chums, Tim Nice but dim, speaks absolute the Queen's English, but he is short as two short planks. But we love a toff. We just do. And we instantly doff our caps to people that sound that way. Now, if it's a regional dialect that I've got, you have to almost fight a little bit more to be seen as credible. And that's just the way it is. We will never change it, and we will never change. I never experienced it until that point, but I have experienced it, and I've seen it happen to other people, and it's my instant flash when I hear someone talking about someone's accent and saying, oh, they don't sound right, or they sound a bit rough. It's like, who cares how they sound, as long as they know what they're doing and they're credible. And that for me that comes down to that leadership piece, because you want a diverse team.
Absolutely. How else can you reflect your customer base who are diverse if your top layer, your leadership, or people in the organisation don't reflect what you've got? And I remember once you told me that story, someone else said exactly the same, and I thought, ooh, this is really quite widespread, and it bugged me ever since, because it wasn't on my radar whatsoever. It is a big. I'd like to say hopefully it's not anymore, but I pretty much guarantee it is. So if you're watching this and you have a strong accent and you are concerned, or you might have even been told that you don't sound right, or you're not the right sort of term. It goes back to what I was saying before, earlier a couple of weeks ago, about the live that I did. There was a live I did around drop the brochure and pick up the mic, around how many organisations could just start a podcast or a live and would allow me to do it. Probably not, if I'm being honest, because of the way that I talk. I just wouldn't be. They would find someone who was a bit more polished. It just would be the way. So when you're a leader and if you sound the way like I sound, my only advice would be is you do have to fight a little bit harder to be taken more credible, but do what I did and just be it goes back to that point that Jordan Peterson says, be that monster but control it. So I'm quite a forceful individual, but in a controlled way. And the reason why I have to be like that as a leader is because of stories like we've just discussed. Because if I'm quiet, timid, sound from the north, unfortunately it's just a case of going, oh, what does he know? Or shouldn't you be sweeping some chimneys or something like that? That's just the way it is, unfortunately, in the UK. So leaders, you need to have a diverse team, but you also need to make sure that when it comes back to that point around sending the elevator back down, it doesn't matter if they're male, female, or identify as whatever they want to identify as, or the colour of their skin, or who they pray to, or anything like that, or what they sound like. As long as they are credible and competent individuals, then everybody should be getting on that lift. Or have the opportunity to if they want to.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. One thing I wanted to say before we ended. So the reason we called this Be an Intentional Leader is all the way through the book we talk about that word intentional. And I think that is a really key word. We talk about resilience a lot, but being intentional is every day or every week thinking, right, how can I be a better leader to my team? How can I be a better role model? What do I need to do to push myself to that next level up, to step up? So if I can leave you with one thing from me, it would be to remember that word this week, intentional, and especially around leadership. We talk in the book about the size of your shadow. There's a whole chapter about that. And that's very much about going, every single leader casts a shadow, whether they want to or not. Sometimes it can be, they walk in and they're in a bad mood. That casts a horrible shadow, a glum shadow, for want of a better word, all over their team all day long. And you just see the team just go, no energy in the room. If they're a really great team manager, you see the team pick up and productivity picks up. So think about how intentional you're being this week and the size of your shadow on those around you, whether it's your family, whether it's those next to you, or those a couple of layers down beneath you. But do be intentional about what kind of leader you are.
Excellent. And I think we will end it there. I'm going to go put my flat cap on and go walk my
sheepdog.
Whippet.
Oh, it's a whippet.
It's a whippet, Sharon.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, God, how dare you stereotype the North. I'm going to go drink some Yorkshire tea now and go that pit, and then I'm going to go sit mar and bar. I'm going to go do it. That's how I talk, by the way. So, yes. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Have a great day, week, month, year. Enjoy it. Thanks for